Bear Down Bears fans, another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast. Little emergency episode coming your way because we do technically have breaking news. The Chicago Bears have hired their defensive coordinator, Eric Washington, from the Buffalo Bills, former defensive line coach over there, also assistant head coach. And now the Bears staff has been fully built out. On today's episode, I do want to talk about some of the things that seem to be the theme in what the Chicago Bears are building here and why I actually love the hires that they have made this offseason. If you haven't done so, hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave that 5-star review. You guys know what to do, man. Appreciate all of you who come out and show love to this channel. Let's start here, right? Let's start with Eric Washington. Of course, he is the interesting name on the docket right now. The Chicago Bears go out and hire Eric Washington as their next defensive coordinator. And I think that this is a big move because when you look at Eric Washington, right, not coming in, it's how they're setting this up, I should say. He's going to be coming in basically as the defensive coordinator. He's going to be a guy who's already got experience looking at the defensive line, developing that line. He's an assistant head coach in Buffalo. So now he can look out at some of the teams. You feel confident about him going out and being able to prepare you for the next game because he had to do those things in Buffalo, right? And I think that was a very big turning point for the Chicago Bears when you talk about the season, right? Remember, the Bears go out and they end up getting a senior defensive analyst in the season. And because of that, right, all of a sudden, it seemed like we were a lot more prepared to play the teams that we were going up against. So I love the fact that the Bears are going out and getting an assistant head coach, of course, a defensive line coach. I think two positions that basically wrap that all up into one. And now he's able to come into the building and give you some of those things that you had last season that were able to keep you successful. But on top of that, Tom Pelissero reported that about maybe an hour ago, right? On top of that, though, he also comes in with Matt Eberflus still calling the plays. To me, that is the biggest thing that the Chicago Bears have going for them in this entire process now, because I've said this a million times on this podcast, right? My value in Flus is not as him as the head coach. I hope he's a good head coach. I hope he becomes the next Bill Belichick. I pray that we see that. Let's do it, right? But my value in Flus right now is him as the DC, him calling the plays. And listen, maybe he can show Eric Washington a thing or two about how he calls the system and let Eric Washington take on that maybe next season as he comes into his own. If Eric Washington's still here, fine. Love that. But right now, right, you're talking about hitting the ground running, starting the 2024 season. How are you going to be able to do that in the simplest terms? That means that you have to go out there and you have to have the same voice, have the same play calls, have the same guy in place that was calling plays that were leading you to be successful going into the end of the season. Now, where I do hope Eric Washington helps Matt Eberflus out a little bit here is Matt Eberflus very passive to me. I feel like that got the Bears in a lot of trouble last season. Maybe there'll be more pressure this year because they go out and add a 3 technique, or they go out and they add another edge rusher and feel confident in what they have in Javon Dexter. But I need to see more aggressiveness from Matt Eberflus in some of these moments. And that's one thing that I do hope that Eric Washington brings, because I feel like Buffalo was a defense that you could see being a very aggressive defense and have seen under his time there. Remember, he was hired in with the Bills in 2020 as the defensive line coach. That defensive line 2020, 2021, right? We know that they were some dogs over there. They were able to get after you, and there was some development going on with that as well. He was awarded the assistant head coach title in 2023 after being a senior defensive assistant in 2022. So Eric Washington comes with a lot of experience at not only developing players, not only putting players in the right position, not only being at a position that literally was like, we're going to get after you, right? But also being able to go out there and elevate the game of the defense that he has in place while scouting out next week's defense, while doing a lot of the things that the senior defensive analyst was doing for us this season. And Matt Eberflus being able to continue to call the plays, I think that that is going to allow the Chicago Bears to hit the ground running. That to me is the biggest thing that we could have heard out of anything today, because I think a lot of us looked at the defensive coordinator position and said, well, are we going to have a guy that's going to come in here and he's going to call the game his way? Or are we going to have a guy that's going to be, Matt Flus's help? Basically, the guy who's going to, make his life as easy as possible so that he can go out there and just call plays and still kind of focus on the game at hand. That's the other thing you got to take into this, right? Is he now going to be a little bit more locked in with calling plays because he does have that help, because he's got somebody that can go, hey, listen, this is what we're running. I'll call this. Pay attention, because we got to watch the clock here, right? There's so much more that goes into this, and I think that it's going to be really interesting to see the development of the relationship between Flus and Washington. I think this is a really good hire if you're going to go with somebody who's not going to call plays, right? If you're going to go with somebody who's not going to call plays, this to me is a hire that screams, comes in, knows what he's doing, has development. Being able to go out there and add development under your belt to me is going to be the biggest thing. How is this going to affect Javon Dexter? How is this going to affect Zach Pickens? Because those are guys that we came into the season expecting to make impacts. We didn't see it at the beginning. We saw it more at the end, seeing that impact, right? It seemed like Zach Pickens was far ahead in the beginning of the season. Now we get to the end of the season, and it feels like Javon Dexter closed that gap mightily by the end of the season. So I'm excited to see what the development is going to be here. But I think we have to look at kind of the staff as a whole, because I think there is a theme to how the Bears attack this offseason, and that's the part that does excite me about what we're seeing out of the Chicago Bears heading now into the 2024 season, heading toward the draft. You look at Shane Waldren, right? Shane Waldren coming in. There's a lot of things that Bears fans go, oh God, right? You're right. We heard from Corbin Smith on this show, right? And basically he said a lot of the things that we looked at Luke Getsy and we're like, you gotta be kidding me, dog. Are you telling me that we basically got the same guy here again? But the difference that we continue to hear about Shane Waldren is that he's a guy that you can put in a room with a quarterback, whoever the quarterback is, and he's going to get the most out of his quarterback. He's going to have an ability to go out there and develop the quarterback position. I look at Eric Washington here coming in now. He's a defensive line coach. He was a defensive line coach. Now coming in, he's a coordinator. He's going to be running the whole defense, right? But what problems do we have on this team? We look at our DBs. I think we feel pretty good. Maybe we need to replace Eddie Jackson. Going to be sad to see Bojack go. Big fan of what Bojack's able to do. But unfortunately, that time seems to have passed him by. When you see the cap hit on his number, he's probably going to end up not being a part of this team. But you got Jalen Johnson out there. Would love to see you get that deal done quickly. You got Tyree Stevenson. You got Kyler Gordon. You got Jaquan Brisker. I love what we saw from Terrell Smith, the young guy out here. The DB room is set. I look at my linebacker room, feel confident about my linebacker room. Jack Sanborn, one of the smartest guys in the room. Tremaine Edmonds really came on late at the end of the season, right, where all those turnovers started coming. He was one of the guys that was benefiting from that. TJ Edwards was a steal of a deal for the Chicago Bears. I feel confident about my linebacker room. Where's the one place that we had questions at the entire season? We're talking defensive line. Yes, the very position that Eric Washington coached in Buffalo, right? The very position that you saw have so much success in Buffalo. You're going to have to develop young talent. You can't go out there and buy an entirely new defensive line, right? Are you going to go pay money for a 3 technique? Are you going to go pay money for an edge? Which one are you going to do? Because you're not doing both. You're either drafting a 3 technique or you're drafting an edge. Are you going into the draft getting a 3 technique here when you just drafted a 3 tech last year that seemed like he started to have development? Or are you going to go into the draft and get an edge, but you got to know that that edge is going to hit, because you can't have Montez Sweat with nobody young on the other side of him. And you got DeMarcus Walker in there. That's cool, right? I love to have D Walk in the building, but man, I mean, would like to have somebody with a little bit more skill. So where are you going to spend money? There's still going to have to be some development on this defensive line. The name of the Bears offseason right now is development. And I think that that is going to be big for this Bears team moving forward, because so many times we have focused on going out there and just getting the wins. You have to go out there. You have to beat the Packers. You can't lose these games. You can't. But we haven't focused on, okay, but how are we getting better on the field? How are we improving the play of the players on the field? How are we continuing to build something that's going to last for 15 years on the field? Now, nothing's going to last for 15 years, right? But, right, can you develop? I look at Shane Waldren and all of this, right? The fact that we have the same questions about Luke Getsy, about Shane Waldren that we had about Luke Getsy coming off of that last season in Seattle concerns me. But hearing that he's a guy that's going to get the most out of your quarterback, whether you're a Justin Fields guy or a Caleb Williams guy or a Drake May guy, no matter who you are, you feel like there's going to be some level of quarterback development happening here over the next couple of years with Shane Waldron. And that does excite me, because I do believe the Bears will address the left tackle position heading into this draft. I think that they'll probably look to attack the center position in free agency and maybe draft a center later on in the draft, maybe third round, somewhere in there. But you're talking about now coming in and trying to get something that's going to last for more than just a season. How many pop-up seasons have we had? What, 01, 06, 10 and 11, right? 18. How many pop-up seasons are we going to have where we look after that season and go, man, nothing here really developed? Man, we got the pieces on defense, but we couldn't fix the quarterback position. Man, why couldn't we fix the quarterback position? Well, you didn't develop a left tackle. Why didn't you develop a left tackle? Well, probably because you picked the wrong one in the beginning. So let's not do that either, Ryan. But seeing the development that the Chicago Bears are focusing on, to me, excites me more than I have the fear on what the scheme is going to be. Because guess what? We can sit here and we can, of course, right, Greg Roman's system wasn't enough. He didn't do well enough. He's not, right? But I look at Greg Roman at every stop that he went to, and he left, right? Got fired. He's gone. We don't like your system. Every spot he went to, a quarterback left developed. No matter what that development was. You can talk about Colin Kaepernick being, man, he was mid to me. He was a mid quarterback. But I don't think he was supposed to be mid, because it never looked like Colin Kaepernick could throw. So you're telling me he developed a dude that couldn't throw into a dude that could throw? That's development. Alex Smith was out the league. Development. Yes, he was fired at every single spot, but he left something developed there. Are we going to, because you can go out and you can go out and get the next great play caller, right? Because we're seeing that in Baltimore right now. But Lamar Jackson was an MVP candidate and won the MVP. He was the best player in the NFL while Greg Roman was there. Questions with the system? Yes. Questions about development? No. And guess what? Baltimore possibly has a 10-year, 12-year, 15-year quarterback in place now, because there was development left in place. Development, to me, is the name and the key to the Chicago Bears having long-term success on both sides of the ball. And that's why I like these hires. I look very much at Eric Washington the same way, talking about Javon Dexter. Javon Dexter finished last season, and he felt like he was he was a very, very good name by the end of the season, right? Like all of a sudden we're just like, yo, okay, we got one here. We got a dog here with us. Okay, I like what I'm seeing out of this young man by the end of the season. Can we get more out of him? Can we develop more out of them? And I think that's really where the Bears focused with their coordinator hires this offseason. Now, especially depending on what you do heading into the next season, right? Heading into the draft, there's going to be still a lot of young pieces on this team. You're not going to have a ton of veteran pieces on this team. veterans in name. Yes, I mean, you got Tyrese Stevenson coming into his second year, right? You got Jaquan Brisker coming into year 3, Kyler Gordon coming into year 3, but you got to be able to go out there and replicate what we saw last season. That's why I love the fact that the play calling stays the same, but we bring a different set of eyes in. That's how you continue to get better in this football world. I am excited for the hires that the Chicago Bears have made today. Let me know how you guys feel about the hire of Eric Washington. Let me know how you guys feel about the staff as a whole. I'm not going to lie. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, the staff that we have in place, I feel is probably a 7, 6.5, 7, right? I don't feel like this is an elite staff. And I thought you could have built one here. I thought you could have gone out, and if you're going to spend the money, if you're going to change things up, right? I thought you had an opportunity to say, yo, we want to go get Chico Rivera. We want to go get, who was the OC? Cliff Kingsbury, right? Like we want to get some dogs in here, right? We're going to get the best play caller with the best DCs available. I thought you could have built a super team. This to me is that would have been a 10, 9, right? I still got to see it play out. This to me is a 6.5, 7. But it's a 6.5, 7 on the play calling side of things. I would say this is an 8 to 9 as far as, are we going to see the young players that we have on this team continue to get better? And that's what I want to see. I'm tired of pop-up years. I'm tired of one-win seasons. We come in beating our chest, bear down, we're at your heads. Y'all not going to stop us. Y'all can't do nothing. And then all of a sudden we're on the other side of this going, what the heck just happened? What happened to the coach of the year we had last year? That was all you had, was the trick plays? That's all you had? I want to see long-term development from my team. I want to see a team that's going to win, that I can come into every Sunday and go, we're going to put up 25 plus points, and defensively we're going to be at your heads. I've never been able to say that in my entire life. I've either had the defense or the offense. I've never been able to say that in my entire life. And most fans haven't been able to say that outside of the 80s. I need to see more. I'm excited on the hires that they made. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments below. I'll be down there talking with you as well. As always, man, it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again to continue watching our Chicago Bears content. Stay tuned in with ESPN 1000 and, of course, the ESPN YouTube channel. And 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, or whenever there's breaking news, right here on the Chicago Bears podcast. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bear down. Peace.